Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing on today? I am super duper excited because today, let me tell you, not only do we have one, but we have two authors hanging out with us. Guys, let me just tell you, I read this book earlier in the year and it is amazing. And these two authors, they are hanging out with us on today. It is Christine Platt and Catherine Wigginton Green. Guys, they are the authors of Rebecca Not Becky. You have probably heard me talk about this book as well. And so today, guys, they're hanging out with us here at the cafe. And of course, guys, I'm going to allow them the opportunity to introduce themselves. But before they do, you know how we do it here on the cafe. And like, tag, and share. Tell a friend to come on down to the cafe because we're hanging out with the authors of Rebecca Not Becky. Hello, ladies. How are you doing on today?
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And of course, guys, a little behind the scene, I did tell them how much I am totally fangirling over them on today. I got to meet them in person, and to be able to have them on the show is just so amazing. So, Catherine, we're going to start with you, my friend. Can you introduce yourself to the people?
Sure. Thanks. Okay. Hey, everyone. I'm Catherine Wigginton Green, and with Christine, my dear friend, I am one of the co-authors of Rebecca Not Becky. My background is in journalism, originally print journalism. Then I moved into documentary filmmaking, and I live in Washington, D.C. with my husband, our daughters, our puppy, and for the past 15 years, I've been leading dialogue about race and racism across the United States, which is how I was able to come into a wealth of information and subject matter for us to help frame our storytelling with Rebecca Not Becky.
I love that. I love that. Well, welcome to the cafe, my friend. Christine. Oh my goodness. And you have been busy, my friend. Introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, people. I am Christine Platt, also known as the Afro Minimalist, and I have been busy. In addition to working with my dear friend Catherine to write Rebecca Not Becky, I have been working on the children's series, the next book in the Afro Minimalist series. It's just been a really busy time. I am here in sunny California right now and just enjoying the weather. This is why I'm outside. I have a background in African and African American studies, historian and lawyer by trade. And as I'm sure, Angela, you know, the through line for all of my books is the history and beauty of the African diaspora, the lasting implications of the transatlantic slave trade. And it's why it was so perfect for Catherine and I to work on this book together, because, yeah, those are all a part of where we are here in America. And we were hoping that this book would really help start some necessary dialogue around race and race relations.
Well, I love that. I love that. And I'm glad that you said that that this book that you guys were hoping that it would be one of those books that helpfully start dialogue. Because again, I know one of the ways that I described it, I was like, yeah, it is totally a conversation starter. And even being able to meet both of you guys in person and seeing you guys talk about this book again, even in that atmosphere, it was ways of getting conversation started about different things. And this is truly a book, guys, that again, being a conversation starter, and there are so many things in this book where you have I don't know, Catherine and Kristen, if you guys are familiar with people saying all the feels. This is definitely a book of all the feels from both characters dealing with their families and all of that good stuff. I mean, I just had a whole lot of emotions. It even can be, in some instances, there was therapy on the page in this book as well. So it's just great, guys. As you can see, I can talk all day long about the greatness of Rebecca Not Becky. But before we get into it, I want to ask you guys, both of you can have an opportunity to answer this. What inspired this amazing story? And we'll start with you, Christine.
I was just gonna say, I love that you could feel all the feels on the page, because I feel like Catherine and I both had all the feels writing it. We
Uh-huh.
were able to really I guess, sort of incorporate all of the work that we've done over the years, all of the experiences that we've had individually and experiences that we've had together. And yeah, so I love to know that resonated. I mean, I don't know, Catherine, you can tell how the book sort of came about. I feel like it's one story, so it's like
Look,
I don't
Catherine,
know.
jump on in. We just having conversation. Jump on in. Help us
You
out
tell me
here.
how did the book get started? And I think it's so funny because yeah, I know reaching out to Catherine to say like, hey, you want to do this thing together? That it was like one of the best decisions that I ever made. But I think for both of us, it did not start the way it ended. The
Oh,
story.
okay. Look, you spill the tea. We like getting the tea here
Yeah.
at the
So
cafe.
I'm gonna let Catherine spill the tea. I teed it up for you,
Catherine,
girl.
spill
Go
the tea.
ahead.
We're ready.
Well, I mean, I think the like initial high level concept was what if there was a story about a woman named Becky who doesn't want to be a Becky? Right. That was sort of
Mhm.
like initial concept. This was, of course, let's talk about the moment that we were in. This was in the wake of George Floyd's murder. Christine and I were deep in anti-racist education, leading workshops. I mean, we had been doing it for many, many years before that. And then, as we all know, there was this urgency, this crash course on anti-racism that people wanted to go through. And it was so intense. And so many more people were coming into the fold. And there were a lot of issues with the way it was being taken up. And so that was sort of the big concept. And so it started around like thinking about this one woman, like, who doesn't want to be a Becky, right? Because we were thinking about a lot of problematic allyship, performative allyship that was happening at the time, the black squares on Instagram and all of that. And then from there, though, when Christine reached out to me and we really jumped in and said, okay, how might we actually do this? We also were really curious about how could we do this differently in the way that it had been done? How could we come up with a story that brought not a lightheartedness or levity to the issue of racism, but to the way that people are taking it up? How could we take ourselves less seriously in doing this work so that we can actually do this work better, more effectively, and for longer periods of time? And we really were interested in this dual perspective, taking exercise of having DeAndre as a main character, Rebecca as a main character, and having the same thing happen in the same town and having two wildly different perspectives of all of it, because we were witnessing that in our everyday lives all the time, that you think we are living in parallel universes. And so we wanted to put that on the page with these two women.
Yeah,
Wow.
we
And let me just
also
tell you. Oh,
hold
go
on,
ahead,
Angela.
Christine.
Hold on. I want to say when Catherine said do something different, there have been authors that like have attempted this kind of like dual approach. So there are
Mhm.
books out there like that. And we learned very quickly why the two characters are like never in the same place at the same time, because it really makes the
In other
writing
books.
itself yeah, in other books it really makes the writing itself a lot more challenging. But we saw it through. I'm proud of us, but it is hard. It is hard to write a dual narrative from a dual perspective, and making sure everyone's wearing the same thing at the same time, making sure the conversations, the dialogue is the same. And so yeah, it was definitely sort of a very big lesson learned, I think, for both of us, but
Uh-huh.
really proud we saw it through, because there was a moment there where we're like, should we just do
What
it
have we
like everybody
done?
else? Well, at least that was my, maybe I didn't say that aloud, but that's what I was thinking. I was like, this is too
Yeah.
hard. This is too
Yeah.
hard. But it ended up being great.
I love that, and I love that you guys are sharing like the behind the scene, because again, that's the tea that we like. We like the behind the scene and the research and what that was like. And so, just to go into detail with that a little bit more, what was that like for you guys? I mean, did you schedule Zoom meetings, or did you schedule meetings, or it was like, okay, Catherine, did y'all swap chapters to read? Give us a little bit of details. What was that like behind the
Girl,
scenes?
we did all of that.
Yeah.
Everything that
Yes.
Like Catherine and Chrissy, you can tell I'm such a book nerd again, right? I'm like, did y'all do this? Did you do that?
No.
We love that stuff, and see how excited I get about it.
No, it's a really great question. I mean, this was the first dual narrative for both of us. We both, done individual work and writing and teaching and training in our respective spaces, but this was the first time where I like sat down with someone
Uh-huh.
to write a book together. I think it's also important to share that we sold this book on spec, which means basically we told them the idea. We had what we thought was a fabulous chapter outline that changed significantly.
Okay.
But we thought we had like this roadmap, right? And so normally fiction is not sold on spec because it is very challenging to like write a book, right? Like normally a novel may take, I don't know what, some people take a year, 2 years, some people take 10 years, right? And so the idea of that this book was sold on spec based on this outline that we had and this idea that we had, but neither of us had ever done dual, fiction writing together. It did present just some challenges, and so I think everything that you said, I think we tried all of the above. We both live in DC, so we would meet up together, but all of my writing I've done by myself, and I was like, oh girl, I don't know if I could hear your keyboard clicking and write.
I type really hard. I'm that cat gif.
We pray for Catherine's keyboard keys.
You can't see any of the letters on my keyboard.
And then we would share chapters. But in retrospect, Catherine, when you say like all of the above, trying all of the above and implementing all of the above is actually what got us to the finish line, and I think made it work. I don't think we could have done it with like one singular sort of approach.
And being willing to try out lots of different things of like, okay, that was working there, but now that's not working for us anymore. And also too, though, Christine had been writing fiction, had written The Truth About Awiti, her beautiful first novel that she published, and everyone should get that. And then, but I had not. I had been making documentary films, so I was used to just recording what other people were doing, and then making that into a story. So this idea of like making stuff up was new for me. Although once we got into it, and Christine believed in me before I believed in myself, but once I started to make characters, I was like, oh, I know how to do this. Like I've witnessed so many of these conversations over the years. I mean, thousands and thousands of people that I've facilitated workshops for with my film that it started to like, I became like embodied in them, I guess, in a way that like Christine had already kind of had experience doing and knew I could do, but I was like, I don't know, can I do that?
She was way too hard on herself, Angela. And I mean, writers are, but it's just like it was hard to see my friend struggling in that way, because I'm like, I know you're brilliant. I know you can write this. You know what I mean? But every book is that way. Every book, every writer has this moment where they're like, why am I doing this? Can I do this? I can't believe the publisher believed in me. You know what I mean? But there is this moment where it's like, I can't believe my friend believed in me and I feel like I'm failing. And we would have these moments where I'm like, you're killing it, right? But it is hard, I think, because it was your first book, first fiction work. But I mean, I thought you were doing a great job. So it was
let me just tell both of you, it all came out in the wash. That's an old school saying or what have you, because this book is phenomenal. I mean, the dual perspectives. I mean, you guys did an amazing job, both of you. I enjoyed both of the main characters. I enjoyed the point of views. Like I said, this was a story that had me on the edge of my seat. I was ready to turn the page. I was ready to tell a friend about it. So great job to both of you guys. And if you are just joining us, I'm super duper excited, if you can see, because I am hanging out with a Catherine Wigginton Green and Christine Platt on today, guys. This is their new release, Rebecca, Not Becky. Now, let me ask you guys this, okay? If you know anything about Angela Anderson and the Literary Cafe and the Literary Tea and all that good stuff, I am a book cover nerd, okay? I fell in love with this cover. That was one of the things that captured my attention. I tried to match the cover a little bit. I know we're moving into fall, but, try to match the cover a little bit. But for you, Catherine and Christine, when you saw your final cover, what was that like for you, Catherine?
Well, it's funny, the iterations that we went through with the cover.
Oh, wow. See, we get more tea here. I love it.
You're about to get all the tea. I was like, Catherine, why don't you start with when we saw
the
first cover?
Maybe we should post on Instagram. Maybe we should post on Instagram later, Christine, our we did some of our own little artwork. Which
Look,
we are
oh,
not
fancy. Okay.
where we were doing these concepts of like what this could look like, and they are, I mean, it's
They're
funny.
crude.
They're
We're
embarrassing.
definitely writers.
Yeah, we're definitely writers. And then, I mean, I was like printing off stuff and like tracing it and seeing how we could do this and trying to figure it out.
Right.
We should share it later because it's really funny to think about it now after seeing the cover. And then, yeah, we had some iterations where it looked like they were in a mental institution, which maybe that's
like
suburban life. I don't know.
Iron fence.
Yeah.
Didn't your friend's daughter do?
Oh, it was my agent's daughter did a watercolor of essentially because we were like,
wow.
And so she did that, and then we gave that to the artist.
Okay.
We made that. So yeah, but there were lots of drafts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Many.
Christine, you want to add anything, or did?
No, I mean, I think it's so funny. You know, people always talk about the cover, you know, of books, and I just don't think a lot of people know what goes on behind the scenes. And so, yeah, Catherine, I mean, I feel like Catherine, you can do anything in publishing now, because she got like this, it was like every possible thing that could be the worst possible thing to happen is what happened, right?
Wow.
And yeah, and she overcame all of that. I mean, like, from the editor who acquired the book leaving, you know, while we were in the middle of it, and getting a new editor, from, you know, seeing the cover and being like, the initial cover and being like, there's no way that is going to be our cover, right? And then like having to, you know, like really work with the publisher to create the cover. Yeah, a lot goes into the making of a book beyond writers just like putting the words on the page. Like, it is a very emotional and sometimes even physically like labor intensive process. I mean, we're not graphic designers, but we knew what we wanted the cover to represent. And so to answer your initial question, we love the cover.
Yeah.
But we love that.
I love that. No, Christine and Catherine, we're gonna dig a little bit. We're gonna dig a little deeper, okay? Okay, so we got the cover. For you guys, and Christine, you can answer this, and then Catherine, you can give your answer too. For the title, I'm a title person as well. Rebecca, not Becky. Now, Christine, spill a little tea. Was this the original working title, or this title came a little later?
The title is the only thing that remains from the original.
What? Okay.
Literally, it is the only thing that we like knew straight out the gate. It's Rebecca, not Becky. I mean, Rebecca, like, it makes perfect sense, you know. And I feel like we worked that title before we, you know, tried to sell the book and all that. Like, it was so fun, and it was such a way for us to really play around with what we were trying to do with this book. And so, yeah, when I look back, the only things that kind of remain, remember when they were like both doing yoga? I mean, we had all sorts of stuff going on, but that title and what we really wanted to hone in on with this story was always, I think, one of the most powerful parts of it for us. And so, yeah, that working title stayed. And I would say, like, that's one of the few things. And the characters' names. Yeah. Right? From the original proposal.
And really, like, if if Rebecca didn't want to be a Becky, then it's not really about changing her name. It's about what she needs to learn, her behavior, all that. And that was important to us.
That's so true. And that definitely came across in the book too. I mean, you know, like book nerds, you know, we always deep diving and analyzing and coming up with stuff that, you know, we just pull out of the book or what have you too. But I'm glad that you guys presented that information about the title and what the title means. And of course, guys, if you are just joining us, I'm hanging out with Catherine Wigginton Green and Christine Platt, guys. Their latest release, Rebecca, Not Becky. It is a good one. Let me tell you, you definitely want to tell a friend to tell a friend. Not only that, I mean, book clubs, let me tell you, perfect book club
Yes.
reading, perfect book for a buddy reading, all of that good stuff as well. But Catherine and Rebecca, I'm sorry, not Rebecca, and Christine, I want to read something to you guys, and I just want to get your take on when you heard this. This is actually on the back cover. It says, Platt and Wigginton Green dropped a big spoon into the stew pot of race, relationship, class, and age, and serve the reader one sip at a time. Some of it is sweet, some sour, some of it is even a bit spicy, but all of it is delicious, masterfully done. And that's Jason Reynolds, number one New York best time selling author. Catherine, when you hear that, what comes to mind for you? And
Well,
Christine,
yeah, I mean, I was, it's funny because when you create a project, once you, and as you know, happy Pub Day, Angela, for you, with you.
Yeah.
But when you create something, the second it's out of you and you put it out into the world, you have no real control or say in how people take it up. It's just a completely subjective experience. And so there are times where you hope, and one can hope, that people take up what you've created in the way that you hoped that they would. That doesn't always happen, but that's what I felt when I saw what Jason wrote, because we did want this to encompass all of that, all of those emotions. That's our existence is.
Yeah.
And it's, and this work and what happens in the book. I mean, it starts out maybe lighthearted. We're having a little fun with, life in suburbia, with kind of the uber wealthy, fascination, I'll say, with wellness. And then we go really deep with the fact that these women are both firmly in the sandwich generation, with young children and aging elders that they have to take care of on both ends of that. So, and then of course, what happens toward the end of the book. So there is all of that in our day-to-day lives. And so that quote from Jason really, to me, signaled like, oh, he got what we were trying to do here.
Yeah. And I think we specifically reached out to Jason, and then later Brendan, who Catherine has a working relationship with, Brendan Kiley. We really wanted their perspectives and take on it because of the work that they did with All American Boys, which really sort of, really catapulted, I think, sort of these dual dialogue race narratives. And so it really meant a lot for us that they got it. I was recently wishing Brendan Kiley's wife a happy birthday on Instagram, and he still has our photo up, just like raving about the book and what it meant and why it's so important. And so to have the support of those two authors who really, I think, sort of opened up the conversation with these dual narratives, that they got what we did, meant so much. Catherine, do you want to share just a little bit about like the work that you had done with Brendan before and how wild it was that it came full circle?
Yeah. I mean, so in the documentary that I made called "I'm Not Racist, Am I?" We followed a group of New York City teens through a series of workshops on race and racism throughout a school year. And we watched them go through all these workshops, and then we watched them process what they were learning with one another, with their family members. And that's the film. We take it out and we do grassroots kind of style discussions about the film to get people to talk about race and racism. But in the film, there is a specific session that only the white students do. So we did affinity groups. The kids, so the students of color met together and the white students met together separately to really kind of dig into some stuff that needed to happen in single identity work, which feels so important. And Brendan, who wrote All American Boys with Jason, he was the workshop facilitator in that. Yeah, and it was before they had published All American Boys.
But like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
wow.
It was wild.
10 years ago. 10 years ago. And it's, it's the 10-year anniversary of that documentary. I'm Not Racist, Am I? Highly recommend. And it's the reason that Catherine and I actually met. And, I think it is just so important for us to really understand how this work and these dialogues and this need to have these conversations has been going on for such a long time. And to know that, Catherine did that documentary 10 years ago. There's a current documentary out that I cannot wait to rip apart, because, to me, it goes against all of the beautiful work that Catherine and her co-producer Andre Lee, that they did with that, with that film. I mean, I'm Not Racist, Am I? To me, was the foundation for Rebecca Not Becky,
Oh,
right? And like
wow.
it's not to say like, am I racist? It's not a parody. You know what I mean? Like, this is real work. This is real life, right? And
Yeah,
us
yeah.
being able to use documentaries and use, like I'm Not Racist, Am I? And use a novel like Rebecca Not Becky to be a teaching tool, like that
Mhm.
is so powerful. So expect a nice little, you want some tea, expect a nice little rant from me tearing apart this documentary that really goes against all of the work that Catherine and I and so many other practitioners over the, I mean, not even like last 10 years, like decades worth of
Mhm.
work trying to move this conversation around race and racism forward.
Mm.
Yeah, it makes me very angry because we know that, these are like accessible entry points for us to really have these conversations. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, just wanted to like throw that out there in case you don't,
Well,
in
no,
case,
thank you for
in case you
sharing.
didn't
We
know how I felt
appreciate that.
about it. Yeah.
Let's dive into the characters a little bit. And so for both of you guys, and Catherine, you can answer this question. What came first for you guys? Was it the character or the plot for Rebecca,
Uh,
Not Becky?
Ooh.
the character. Yeah. We had in our
Okay.
heads this almost like a,
Oh, did we
yeah,
lose him?
the character.
Okay.
But we had to get to know them. We had
I thought we lost you a little bit there. And yeah, and I want both of you guys to tell us a little bit. We're gonna start with you, Christine. If you could describe DeAndrea's character, how would you describe her? I usually tell people 5 words or more, but how many other words you need to describe her to the people?
DeAndrea is a compilation of myself and many Black women who I know and love.
Okay.
Yes, yes. She is based on real life
I love that. And Catherine,
people.
Yeah. And with
and
Rebecca,
Catherine, of course. If you
I always say Rebecca she just wants to be the best little ally who ever did ally. And she is a composite of myself and every white woman I know at various parts of this journey.
Yeah.
And I want to tell both of you guys, oh my goodness, one of the things that I also enjoyed about this book was the realness and the rawness. And because there were moments where a reader could literally put themselves inside of this book, and you would have moments like, yep, I've experienced that. Or, yep, I know exactly what she's talking about. I mean, there's moments where you can have some laugh out loud moments because you definitely get it. And then there's other moments where it pulls at your heartstring. I mean, again, like I said, totally all the feels. But I want to ask both of you guys, and you can think about the characters that you wrote. And Christine, we'll start with you. Is there a character that you wrote in Rebecca Not Becky that was interesting, borderline fun for you to write? And on the flip side, is there a character that at moments kind of like gave you pause? Like you had to kind of like step back and just take a moment. And then Catherine, you're on deck. Same question for you, Christine.
Man, first of all, I love all my characters. Okay. And like I said, they are, my middle name is Andrea, for folks who don't know.
I love that.
I also am a retired and reformed lawyer, right? So I was able to write from DeAndrea's perspective, really reflecting on my own journey. And then her friends, like I said, they are representative of so many of my dear friends and people who I love. And some of the conversations that are in there with her characters are real conversations that I've had with my friends. Negroes for Hire was a real conversation. Right? And so I love all of these characters, and I feel like I've always loved them. And that was something I think that was even noted in earlier drafts, right? Like even before we really got the story going, that was some of the editorial feedback that we received. Like, I mean, you can tell Christine loves these characters, right? Because I think it's so rare for us to really have this sort of unfiltered display of emotions and conversations of Black folks and Black women in particular on the page, right? Like I wanted to show how we really feel, right? I wanted to show what our code switching looks like how we, really show up differently in different spaces because we feel that we have to. I wanted to show what it does look like when our kids are the only one or a few of one, right? Which is an experience that I had with my daughter. I mean, like my daughter went to an independent school, that was much like the school that was in the book. And so I think, for my characters being able to pull from those really honest, funny, raw, awful, experiences and be able to put that on the page unfiltered. I had a lot of fun with that. So there was not a single character, at least in DeAndrea's world, that gave me pause. I love them.
And don't
I
forget
love
about
that.
LL,
Oh yeah, man. LL
the
the
dog.
puppy, also based on a little puppy that I know. But Catherine, we had I think LL had a little bit of DeAndre and Becky in
Yeah.
there, right? Like in terms of like stories. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I love all that. So I think, a couple ways I'll answer. First of all, when I first started writing Rebecca, early versions of Rebecca as a character were a caricature of a white woman. And that was my working through of some self-loathing and shame that I have had about my own personal journey and my learning experiences and ways that I have tried to distance myself from being white because of behavior that looks problematic. And I don't want to be seen as one of those white women. So there was a lot of that going on. And I have a great mentor who helped also with me working through that because I've been with her through a lot of this work. And with each version, Rebecca started to become more and more real and complex. And I was able to step into that in a way that also was very like healing and bringing some more self-awareness for me. So that's Rebecca. And then, and there are times still where like she was driving me crazy, like she's like, but that's part of it. And then, each of the men in Rebecca's life, she has a contractor who she loves because he does lots of her work around the house, and she wants to get that koi pond built so she can finally have some peace in her life because that's going to be what brings her peace. And she has her brother-in-law and her husband and some administrator at the school. And each of these men presents an opportunity for her to think about how much is she willing to tolerate and withstand in problematic behavior. And I think this is a really important question, like conversation right now that a lot of white women are having, which is, if my partner, if my spouse is supporting politicians that do not align with my values, how much am I willing to tolerate there? When am I going to speak up? When am I going to split off from them? When am I going to do my own thing? Or am I going to sacrifice my values and integrity and actually align myself with them and do what they're doing? And each of them presented an opportunity for Rebecca and for, I hope, readers to think through that. And so those were hard to write because each of those relationships was very challenging. And finally, I'll say that the big surprise that I hadn't really thought about it, but just sort of emerged on the page as we got through it is Rebecca has a PTA nemesis, Harita, and I have fallen in love with this woman. I want a TV show so she can be part of it too.
I love love that. Oh my goodness. And guys, let me just tell you, it is Rebecca, Not Becky is the book that we're talking about. We will be sharing with you in just a moment how you will be able to get your hands on a copy of this amazing story that is definitely a conversation starter. Is definitely one of my top reads of this year as well. And of course, guys, we have to play a round of this or that with Catherine and Christine on today. Both of you, I promise you, there is no right or wrong answer because it is all things according to you. And it's going to be this or that fall edition. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
Okay,
Ready.
first up, hot cider or hot tea? Christine, hot cider or hot tea?
Hot tea.
Okay,
Hot
Catherine.
tea. Hot
Okay.
tea.
Pumpkin spice or apple cinnamon? Catherine.
Apple cinnamon.
Okay, Christine.
What? No way. All white women love pumpkin spice. Cut it out.
I'm trying to break the mold here. And pumpkin spice out.
Okay, now this is a tire a little bit. Are you team flannel shirt or team sweater? Christine.
Sweater weather.
Sweater weather.
weather,
Oh,
Catherine.
Christine, that's a whole thing for me and my friends. It is sweater weather. I am super duper. And okay, Catherine, and you have to say it together. It's sweater weather, okay? But anyway, Christine, you probably did not know that you was going to start something with sweater weather. Oh my goodness.
I know that Catherine is sweater weather. I learned that word from
Catherine,
her.
I love it. We're here. I'm sweater weather too. I love that. I love that. Okay, next up is baked goods. Are you a bake cookies or some baked pumpkin bread?
Oh,
Cookie.
baked cookies. Yeah. Just know anything with pumpkin for me is no.
No.
Just know that. Yeah.
So for you, Christine, just any kind of baked cookies, just not pumpkin.
Anything.
And Catherine, are you
pumpkin ain't
cookies
for
too,
me.
or are you pumpkin bread?
I'm cookies. Yeah.
Okay, I love it. I love it. Well, thank both of you for playing a round of this or that. And of course, we have to ask this one for the cafe. Are you team tea or are you team coffee? Christine, team tea or team coffee?
Team coffee, man.
Okay, Catherine.
Coffee, lots and lots of coffee.
I love that. I love that. Oh my goodness. Well, thank both of you for playing a round of this or that. And the time goes by so fast. Oh my goodness. So of course, I want for you guys to share with us how we can get our hands on a copy of Rebecca, Not Becky. But before we do that, Catherine, I will start with you. Can you share with us, what do you want readers to take away from this amazing story?
I want people to take themselves less seriously. That's a big piece for me. If you want to do this work and you want it to last and be effective in it, we have to be able to take ourselves less seriously.
All right, Christine.
I want readers to take away the importance of really being able to have these conversations, right? And I think, again, that's what the book was designed to do, to allow people to see themselves on the page, to understand how important it is to take, these conversations out of these little silos and chapters, right? And you see the real work begins when DeAndre and Rebecca are forced to really come out of their own little silos and really commit to moving this work forward together. And so that's what I want readers to take away. Have the conversations, be add some levity to it. Don't take yourselves too seriously. Be open to really learning from each other. And sometimes that includes learning from the uncomfortable. I don't want to say wrong, because I don't think anything is, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but sometimes the decisions that we make and the ways that we approach things, aren't necessarily the most helpful or most useful, but those are all teachable moments, so that you can learn not to do that again. And so, yeah, just kind of, again, like there's no real mistakes. It's starting and committing to the same end goal, which is really achieving a place of equity and honesty, and being supportive and tolerant of each other in this country, right, and our respective journeys. And so yeah, I think that's what I want readers to take away. Start the conversation.
I love that from both of you guys. And of course, guys, let me just tell you, you're in for a treat, because Rebecca, Not Becky is available in all three formats. So whatever suits your fancy, ebook, audiobook, print copy, you can get a copy of Rebecca, Not Becky. Catherine, can you share with us where can they get a copy of this book?
Anywhere books are sold. Anywhere books are sold.
So I love that. I love that, guys.
Yeah.
And let me just tell you, you will want to tell a friend to tell a friend. You would definitely want to buddy read this one as well. Book clubs, great conversation to have with reading Rebecca, not Becky. And again, like both of these amazing authors have said, it is definitely a conversation starter. And it's one of those books that, again, there may be some things that's eye-opening for you. You may learn something. It's educational. But again, it's a great read that you would definitely enjoy. And there are lasting memories that you will literally be thinking about these characters days, months after you have read this amazing story as well. And so, Catherine, if you can please share with us, my friend, how can we stay connected with you?
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram at I am Catherine Wigginton. That's the best place.
Christine, how can we stay connected with you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram as well. I am Christine Platt, and my website, same thing, I am ChristinePlatt.com.
I love that. I love that, guys. And of course, I have to allow these two ladies to have the last word of what they want to say on today regarding it could be pertaining to Rebecca, not Becky. It could be a message they want to get out. Catherine, what's your last words for the people on today?
Okay, it's similar to what Christine was saying about what she hopes the takeaway is from the book, which is that I think so often we get caught up in being afraid to have conversations about race and racism or even other really hard topics that we try to put so much, frameworks and methodology around it and organize around it. And I think that's important to do in a lot of different spaces, but I also think that it's important to start. And so that if we always frame this as this is going to be a hard conversation and this is going to make you feel horrible things and this is going to be just, so challenging, then I think we've already steeled ourselves against it. And we're already coming into it in a place where we might not be open to what is possible in what we can imagine together, what we can create anew in our communities. And so I think I guess I'm just sort of putting an exclamation point on what Christine said, which is start. Don't wait for the perfect moment. And a book like this can help you do that because it gives you something to grasp onto and to anchor the conversation in a way that you can just jump into it in a way that is very accessible.
Totally. And Christine, you're up, my friend. What's your last words of what you want to say to the people?
Last word to the people actually goes to you, Angela. Thank you so much for having us on here at the cafe. It's so important for authors to have a space where we can have these conversations and really talk about our books and have the work amplified. So I just want to say thank you so much for all that you do with the cafe. And thank you so much for having us on the show. My last words.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. I love it. I love it. Well, guys, we will definitely be putting in the comment section how you can stay abreast with these two authors as well. We are super duper excited that they took out the time to come and hang out with us today. Let me just tell you, go get it. Run, not walk. Get a copy of Rebecca, Not Becky. As I shared, ebook, audiobook, and print. You can get a copy of this book. We will actually put some information in the comment sections of how you can get a copy of this book as well. Well, guys, that is our show on today, and it has been amazing hanging out with Catherine and Christine on today. And you already know what we're going to say. Have an amazing day because we're having an amazing day. And until next time, we'll see you guys later. Be sure to get a copy of Rebecca, Not Becky.
Thank you.